Good, thank you for coming, everyone. If you wonder how we kept warm in the early days, I didn't join till 1977, but even then, Bhaktivedanta Manor was quite cold. That's the way we warmed up, having a kirtan like that, so I think we're feeling a bit warmer now. And I first met Sakshi Gopal Prabhu in 77 when I joined, and my first memory is in standing on the street somewhere near Selfridges in Oxford Street. You all shop round Selfridges, I presume. So just outside Selfridges on Oxford Street, and he stopped in the kirtan and was giving a presentation to the crowd that had gathered, and I was very impressed by that. And still, Sakshi goes out on Saturday night, Harinama. I don't know if anyone's ever been to London on Saturday night. It's where it's all happening, as they say. If you go down London Saturday night, and people join in like anything. You see the videos, so many people are just attracted to chanting Hare Krishna. It's quite amazing, actually. So I think Sakshi, for me, he embodies that mood that we had in the early days. Some of us are a little sentimental about the early days, but it was like you've come here today, even with snow, and I remember going on kirtan with my friend Rohini-Nandan, and literally sleet sort of coming horizontal in our faces. We were chanting like this, carrying on, you know what I mean? There was a wonderful sense of serving Srila Prabhupada. And of course, Sakshi joined in a time that was still very, very formative for Iskcon. I think we owe devotees like him so much. He joined in Manchester. I know it was when Rancho, some of you might know Rancho was the temple president there. And by the way, I met Rancho first in around that time, 1972. He was actually doing kirtan by himself in Wolverhampton. I was sitting in a hotel and I heard I ran out to see what it was, and there was this devotee by himself, just playing the cartels and singing. So Rancho asked the Shaki, who else was there? Was Trivangananda, Trivangananda gave class here. He was there in Manchester. Ramadevi, Ramadevi was very famous for outfits, wasn't she? For sewing for the deities. I mean, we owe a lot to those devotees because Iskcon's famous for these fantastic outfits that we make. Wonderful the way we dress the deities. And so Sakshi was joined in 72. He's a musician, poet, and artist. In fact, he used to do many of the flyers for the early Rath Yatras, 72, 73, that we gave out to advertise it. He did album covers, and I just found out today that Srila Prabhupada really wanted every language, every town and village, right? And he wanted the Bhagavad-gita and the scriptures in every language, right? And Sakshi made for the first French Bhagavad-gita. He did the artwork for the first French Bhagavad-gita. If anyone knows France, Vive la Revolution, they're not so religious, generally. I'll be careful what I say now. So, and he also, for me, I'm being a little selfish here. Whenever I meet Sakshi, I just, we haven't got so many Srila Prabhupada disciples left. And although it's said that we can contact Srila Prabhupada through his scriptures, through reading his books, we're still directly in contact. Still there's something special. Those of us that met Srila Prabhupada, there's something special. Whenever I meet them, I'm sort of pushing him a bit today, hoping we might have some pastimes up. But those, because Srila Prabhupada embodied the scriptures. We were talking today earlier, weren't we? We said, first of all, it's almost like Srila Prabhupada came first, the scriptures came second, because he embodied the scriptures. So that, Srila Prabhupada just totally embodied, the sum total of all the Vedic scriptures, all in that personality, with compassion as well, not just dry scripture, with great compassion. So I'm very happy that Sakshi is here. Thanks, Krishna.
So thank you very much for inviting me to come and speak. Let's start off with 3 big Hare Krishnas. Hare Krishna!
Hare Krishna! Hare Krishna! Krishna!
Hare Hare, yes, why not? Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So thanks for braving the weather. Of course, if you lived in if we lived in Canada or Moscow, Russia, this would be nothing, would it? It would be just a warm spring day. It's interesting, today's verse is concerned with dualities of happiness and distress. So it's very relevant. Today's verse is relevant to the weather. Chapter 2, contents of the Gita, summarized. We're looking at text number 56. 56. Dukeshvanudvigna mana. You want to start? Dukeshvanudvigna mana. Sukeshu vikataspiha. Vitaraga bhayakrodha. Stita pir muni uchate. Dukeshvanu vigna mana. Sukeshu vikataspiha. Vitaraga bhayakrodha. Stita dhir muni uchate. Congratulations for those who were actually remembering it as we went along. I noticed Indriyesha here. No Gita, but he's got a very good brain. Anybody want to chant?
Dukeshva anudvigna manaha. Sukeshu vigata sprihaha. Vitaraga bhayakrodha. Stitadhir muni uchyate.
Anybody else? Dukeshu. In the threefold miseries. Anudvigna manaha. Without being agitated in mind. Sukeshu. In happiness. Vigataspiha. Without being too interested. Vita. Free from. Raga. Attachment. Bhaya. Fear. Krodha. Anger. Stitadi. One who is steady. Muni. Sage. Uchyate. Is called. Translation. One who is not disturbed in spite... No, wait. Read it first, then we translate, then we repeat. One who is not disturbed in spite of the threefold miseries, who is not elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady mind. Please repeat. One who is not disturbed.
One who is not disturbed.
In spite of the threefold miseries.
In spite of the threefold miseries.
Who is not elated.
Who is not elated.
When there is happiness.
When there is happiness.
And who is free from attachment.
And who is free from attachment.
Fear and anger.
Fear and anger.
Is called a sage of steady mind.
Is called a sage of steady mind.
Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. The word Muni means one can agitate his mind in various ways for mental speculation without coming to a factual conclusion. Does anybody like to agitate their mind and not come to a factual conclusion? Actually, we all enjoy agitating our mind, even though it brings us misery. Material life means we agitate our mind how to figure out how to avoid this or how to get that. We're always agitating our mind. At the same time, our mind is being agitated to things going on around us. So what someone says, what the government does, or the weather. Is anybody agitated by the weather today? Okay. who was very, very agitated by the weather today? Anybody? Yeah, we get agitated by so many conditions. By the threefold miseries mentioned here in the translation, in the actual verse. What are the threefold miseries? Anybody got a suggestion what the threefold miseries are? Go on. What is it? Silence now. Come on. Who? Adhibhautika, which means what? What does Adhibhautika mean?
Miseries given by others.
Yes, miseries given by others, yeah. And what's the next one?
Adhyatmika.
Adhyatmika.
Which is caused by oneself.
By the self. By my elbow? Or the body and mind. Ah, okay. Yes. Yes. And what's the third one? Adhidaivika. And what does that mean? Huh? Nature. Why does it say Deva? Why does it say Deva? Why? Well, weather, yes, that's one of them. What does? Why Deva?
The snow god.
What else? Let's expound this. It's Adhidaivika. So what does Adhidaivika mean? Deva means demigods. And why are the demigods the source of our misery?
They are the suppliers.
They create all the nature. They're in charge of nature. It's an umbrella. It includes everything, actually. It even includes the suffering to the body, because the different devas are in charge of different parts of our body as well. Everything under the supervision of the devas. So these threefold miseries, and no one can escape them. No one can escape them. Prabhupada says, it is said that, it's back to the Munis now, it is said that every Muni has a different angle of vision. And unless a Muni differs from other Munis, he cannot be called a Muni in the strict sense of the term. So today, in this modern world, you could say the word Muni has been replaced by philosophers, material philosophers. I've not been to university, but anyone here been to university? Don't be shy. Anyone here studied philosophy at university? Yes? Okay. How many philosophers did you come across in your course? Just logic. Okay. Not individual philosophers, because in the West, different philosophers are famous for their different angle. They all have a different angle. They're all, if you're agreeing with another philosopher, you're not going to make your mark. But if you have a different philosophy, a different angle, then people are going to follow you. You can write books, you can be famous. Yeah. Not that you necessarily have to come to any conclusion, because a lot of philosophers just say maybe it's like this, maybe it's like that, and they just go rounding on and on and on. So this is a Muni. It's not just that in modern times, but the Munis also would have their ashram, and they had different ideas, different perspectives on the nature of existence. Please, no shaking. Same for the kirtan. Kirtan is good to shake in the kirtan. That's nice. That's good. It's a bit of distraction. But Prabhupada says there's another kind of Muni. Another kind of Muni. He's very determined. Give him some cartels. He'll really get carried away there. Prabhupada says, and he gives a quote. Prabhupada says, Nasau munir yashabatam nabinam. This is from the Mahabharata. Prabhupada says, but astita di muni. That's the last verse of this, last Sanskrit line of this. Astita di muni uchyate. But astita di muni, Prabhupada says, as mentioned herein, by the Lord, is different from an ordinary muni. So there are different kinds of munis. Just like there are different kinds of philosophers. There are theistic philosophers and there's atheistic philosophers. There's very materialistic philosophers, spiritual philosophers. Prabhupada says, this is not an ordinary Muni. Krishna's referring to the Stita Di Muni is always Krishna conscious, for he has exhausted all his business of creative speculation. He's done it all. He's worked it, either he's worked it out or he's come to the actual conclusion. And the conclusion is Krishna consciousness, God consciousness. God consciousness. He has exhausted all his business of creative speculation. He has surpassed the stage of mental speculation and has come to the conclusion that Lord Sri Krishna, or Vasudeva, is everything. So this is the perfection of, you could say, mental speculation. If you try and work it out yourself, we're going to get so far, but we're not going to come to the conclusion. But if somehow or other we meet the mercy and we come in contact with someone who is a devotee and gives us insights into the nature of God, we can actually, you could say, transcend our mental speculation and ultimately come to the spiritual platform. Prabhupada says such a person has surpassed the stage of mental speculation and has come to the conclusion that Lord Shri Krishna, or Vasudeva, is everything. He is called a Muni fixed in mind. Fixed in mind. We have experienced ourselves, the mind, it does cartwheels, it does somersaults, it does so many things in the course of our struggle with material nature, trying to find a solution, struggling with just the day-to-day existence. But of course the Munis aren't struggling so much with day-to-day existence, they're struggling to figure out what's going on, what's the source of it, where we come from, where are we going. So they struggle, you could say, on behalf of others. Because our own struggle in terms of our trying to earn our daily bread and maintain family, that's not anyone else's issue. But the Munis, they're trying to find out the reason of existence, both for themselves, but what they understand and realize they can share with others. Prabhupada says such a Muni is fixed in mind, because they're fixed in God consciousness. Such a fully Krishna conscious person is not at all disturbed by the onslaughts of the threefold miseries. And here's a good example. Gentleman got a bad cough. This is miserable. So many miserables. It's cold. You come in, maybe any of you walked here today? Any of you walked here? Did any of you, how many came by car today? How many came by car? What if your car breaks down on the way back home? And do you have to push the car? Not that we hope it doesn't do, but sometimes these machines break down. Then the comfort of the car, suddenly we're faced with having to push it. And we're cold, our fingers are cold, we're getting cold. So many miseries. So Prabhupada says that the Krishna conscious person, the person who's realized their eternal relationship with the Lord, they're not perturbed by these miseries. Even though the miseries may come. It's not as if those who are fixed in Krishna consciousness don't get sick. It's not as if they don't get cold when it's in the winter or too hot in the summer. The miseries are still there, but they're not disturbed by them. How is that? How is it that they're not disturbed? I get disturbed. Maybe you don't. I know I do. Huh? They don't get disturbed because they're fixed. They're not identifying. They don't identify themselves with the body or mind or the external circumstances, nor are they planning to find their happiness in the body and mind or their external circumstances. They see and realize themselves as being separate. Their real self-interest is service to the Lord. In which case they will use body and mind in the service of the Lord, and they will use their external circumstances in the service of the Lord. But they don't see them as themselves as the proprietor, and they see Krishna's hand in everything. Krishna's hand in everything. Everything. Even the worst things happen, they see Krishna's hand in everything. Some years ago I heard something that happened in Mayapur. There was an Indian family, Bengali family. I'm not sure if they were from Calcutta. They came regularly to the Mayapur Chandradoya and it was a special day. It was either the Shingadev's appearance day or Gaura-Purnima. and their young son, he went to swim in the Ganges. These were devotee family. I don't know if they were initiated. I suspect they were. But their son went, possibly with others, to go swim in the Ganges, and he drowned. He drowned. What parent would not be distressed when their child drowns? Who wouldn't be distressed? And Jayapataka Maharaj he offered his condolences to the mother, especially the mother. Of course the whole family, but especially the mother. And he couldn't understand it. She was, Haribol, Haribol, Haribol. How could that be? And he said, Mata, how is it possible? You just lost your son. How could you be so joyous? He said, Maharaj, it's Gaura-Nityanander. And my son has left his body in Mother Ganges, in the holy Dham of Mayapur. What a glorious departure. Haribol. It all depends on one's vision. Because she's the mother. She's not lamenting for the passing of her son. That's Krishna consciousness. That's Krishna consciousness. And another time, a different pastime completely. This involved Srila Prabhupada. When Prabhupada was living in Vrindavan, he was living in the Radha temple and translating the Bhagavatam. And at one point during his stay there, he was there for several years, he was gored by a bull. Goring means the horns go. And he was gored by a bull and knocked over in a serious condition. And sometimes Prabhupada would say, see, and he'd pull up his shirt and the scars were still there, 20 years later, from being gored by a bull in Vrindavan. So devotees asked Prabhupada, they said, Srila Prabhupada, how did you, this is Vrindavan. You're doing Krishna's work. You're translating the Bhagavatam, and you're in Vrindavan. How did you I don't know the exact words. How do you handle this? How do you handle this? Go to Vrindavan and get gored by a bull? What's your response going to be? You're going to shake your fist at Krishna? What are you doing here? Why? What did Prabhupada say? He said, I saw it as Krishna's love bite. You know what a love bite is? It's when a husband and wife, they bite each other in affection. Affection. Not the same as being bitten by a tiger or a dog. But it's affection. So Prabhupada knows all about transcendental love. He's a pure devotee of the Lord. So imagine having the consciousness where you're gored by a bull and it's Krishna's love bite. So this is an example of being Krishna consciousness and not being disturbed by the threefold miseries. There are many examples. We'll give some more in a little while. Such a fully Krishna conscious person is not at all disturbed by the onslaughts of the threefold miseries, for he accepts all miseries as the mercy of the Lord, thinking himself only worthy of more trouble due to his own past misdeeds. And he sees that his miseries, by the grace of the Lord, are minimized to the lowest. Meaning that he thinks, I deserve far worse than this. Devotee thinks, I deserve far worse than this. But Krishna has minimized my karmic reaction. And that's humility. That's humility. The atheists, they blame God for everything bad that happens. The atheist wants to enjoy the property of God without God. And they blame God for everything, all the bad things that happen. Totally unaware that it's their own karmic reaction. Even in our current times, the politicians who, so far, so good in the UK, okay, tax issues, this and that, the other. But even those who create misery for others, the politicians, They're instruments of karma. Individual karma, national karma, global karma. Everyone's an instrument of something. So the devotee chooses to be the instrument of the Lord's mercy. That's our choice. We've got to be an instrument of something. Something. We can't stop being an instrument. We can't stop serving. Someone or something or we can't stop serving. So what agenda are we going to serve? And Srila Prabhupada gives us the opportunity to serve the agenda of Shushi Gonitai. That's our agenda. Under Prabhupada's guidance, he's giving us opportunities to serve the agenda of Shushi Gonitai and the Guru Parampara. That's his mercy. That's the grace. Krishna sends his pure devotee, and by the grace of the pure devotee, he gives us the opportunity to serve the highest purpose, not just the higher purpose. The highest purpose that will not only save ourselves, but also save unlimited others. Unlimited others. And we're only just, 50, 60 years since Srila Prabhupada came? 60 years, next year, 66 Prabhupada came. So next year is just 60 years since Prabhupada arrived in the West. Just that. It's a moment ago. How many of you were around 60 years ago? Don't know prior ages, but many of you were around 60 years ago. Totally unaware of what was happening. Me neither. Who of us knew, some of us had some affection for the hippie style of life. We were totally unaware of what was going on. Prabhupada leaving India and coming to the West. And it caught on. It caught on so much, and now, 60 years later, who'd have thought? Hare Krishna chanting in Russia, Hare Krishna chanting in China, all around the world, all around the world. Within 60 years. Which is absolutely remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. But to do that, Srila Prabhupada had to be undisturbed by the threefold miseries. When he arrived in New York, people say it was an exceptionally cold New York winter. And New York winters, this is not, we don't see New York winters. UK, we do not see anything like a New York winter. It's very hot in the summer, it's not tropical. It's hot in the summer, freezing cold in the winter. And Prabhupada just had an overcoat and his cotton robes. An old man, 70 years old. He tolerated it. He had a higher purpose. Toleration generally comes when there's a higher purpose. We overlook this because we have that in mind. We have that goal. Even materially, people will tolerate horrific conditions to earn some money. People work on oil rigs, or they go fishing in the ocean, or they're working humdrum hours, or they're risking their lives sometimes to earn money just to maintain. So many risks, but nothing, there's no gain. Because the gain, okay, you get some money, you feed your family and yourself, but then what's the benefit? But that same energy and same sacrifice and in the service of the Lord, it's totally different. That we will take with you into your next life. And those who you benefited by your preaching or your prasad distribution or your book you've given out, whatever, they're benefited. It's benefit. It's like it's unlimited. The reverberation goes on and on and on. But it often requires a degree of being undisturbed. This sequence of verses, we're on this verse here, it's one of several where Krishna's answering Arjuna's question. What are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is thus merged in transcendence? What does he look? How does he speak? What is his language? How does he sit? How does he walk? What are the symptoms? So this is the first second of a series of verses describing the qualities of such a person. And one is that he's not disturbed by the external circumstances, but he'll use external circumstances in the service of the Lord. That's the difference. He's not a Mayavad. He doesn't say, I've nothing to do with it. No, he's very eager how to use it in the service of Krishna. You know, here's a whole electrics and lighting, and here we are using this in Krishna's service. Or you came in your motor car for this evening kirtan, prasadam and lecture. Use the motor car. So he's using. Prabhupada's very expert at utilizing so many things. And he mentioned this a little bit further in the purport. Let's see, where did I get to? So the devotee sees whatever misfortune comes, miseries, he sees it as Krishna's mercy, because he should be getting far more. He says he's minimizing my suffering, and I'm just getting a token. And that way he can handle it. It's easier to handle. In other words, things could be far worse, but Krishna is blessing me by holding back what I'm actually due. And that increases his attachment and appreciation for Krishna. Then Prabhupada says, similarly, when he is happy, he gives credit to the Lord, thinking himself unworthy of the happiness. He realizes that it is due only to the Lord's grace that he is in such a comfortable condition and able to render better service to the Lord. So he sees any comforts or opportunities, Krishna's giving me this so I can serve him better. And then Prabhupada says, and for the service of the Lord, he is always daring and active, and is not influenced by attachment or aversion. Now this describes Srila Prabhupada, his mindset, daring and active. Daring and active. And not influenced by attachment or aversion. So he's never saying, no. Oh my God, no. Ah, look, just look at, no. He's not this aversion and attachment. The other is attachment. Oh, look at it. Just look at it. That's it. You got attachment. They're both sides of the same coin. Aversion and attachment. The mind can be so rampant like that. So rampant. So Prabhupada, he says here, daring and active. So how old was Srila Prabhupada when he left India? How old was he? 69? Born in 1896. And he left India in 65. 65. Anyway, he was, when most of us are retiring, Prabhupada is heading west with practically nothing. Just a box of books, a pair of cartels, and a few rupees, a suitcase. Who would do that? Coming to a culture which is so alien to his way of life. Prabhupada's been living in Vrindavan. I don't know if any went to Vrindavan before the building started, but it was beautiful, very peaceful, sandy lanes, like a village. Prabhupada left a village to come to the hellhole of New York and lived on the Bowery. That's the worst place in New York's bad, but you go to the Bowery, that's where people go to. There's dead people on the street. I bet maybe not now, it's probably upmarket. But back then, drunkards and drug addicts and prostitution and people dead on the street. I mean, they get swept up, but, it's mad. Prabhupada lived there. Why? Any offers? Why? Why did Prabhupada live on the Bowery?
He has a mission to his Guru Maharaj's.
Yes, that's the answer I was looking for. The mission of his Guru Maharaj. That's the exact point. He sacrificed everything to please his Guru Maharaj. And I sometimes think of Prabhupada as being the personification of obedience to the instruction of the spiritual master. It was his, he was determined to serve the mission of his Guru Maharaj. And through that, he went through, as we say, hell and high water. He went through hell and high water for that. We wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here. And similarly, his early disciples also, they went through hell and high water. Their love for Prabhupada impelled them to go and open centers and preach Krishna consciousness, preaching their love for Prabhupada. They weren't all philosophically keyed in. They didn't know Shastra. They weren't practically no books. It was their love for Prabhupada, their love for their Guru Maharaj, their love for Prabhupada, which empowered this movement, which empowered them to empower others, like a row of dominoes. This is the nature of the Uttama Adhikari, that he can empower others to empower others to empower others to empower others to empower. The Madhyama Adhikari can empower others. Okay? Wonderful. But Uttama is no limit. The potency flows through. As long as you want to please the Uttama Adhikari, and you love the Uttama, that's the key, is love. Not the sentimental, but I want to serve you. To give me the shelter of the umbrella of your lotus feet. Give me a shelter. How can I serve you? That's the secret. That's how Krishna consciousness has spread. And continues to spread. When the devotees, we just recently, a big book marathon at Christmas time. Devotees just, going out in the winter, freezing cold, having to tolerate the dismissive. I don't know if people are aggressive these days. Back in the old days when we were books and even on Harinam sometimes we get beaten up. Out there trying to sell Prabhupada's book. So tolerating the winter cold or the summer heat, tolerating the refusal of others, getting arrested by the police, tolerating, not being attached, not being averse or not being attached. This is equanimity. And the equanimity comes when there's a higher purpose. It can only come when there's actually this transcendental purpose. So Prabhupada says that it's not influenced by attachment or aversion. Attachment means accepting things for one's own sense gratification, and detachment is the absence of such sensual attachment. But one fixed in Krishna consciousness has neither attachment nor detachment. One fixed in Krishna consciousness has neither attachment nor detachment, because his life is dedicated in the service of the Lord. Consequently, he is not at all angry even when his attempts are unsuccessful. A Krishna conscious person is always steady in his determination. And these are the pointers to the qualities of those who are fixed in Krishna consciousness. And we may have these qualities to a greater or lesser degree, depending on our own level of consciousness. We may be practicing it like sometimes it takes many, many years. Sometimes it takes lifetimes to come to these levels of real detachment. We're struggling. We know what a standard is, sometimes we're struggling with attachments and detachments. But one who's actually Krishna, there's no struggle. Because his struggle is how to serve the Lord. His whole, the emphasis is totally different. Now it's 8:20. Today is the disappearance of Lochan Das Thakur, who was a great devotee. He was initiated. My memory is terrible. I made a note. It's on my diary here. Just to say, what is it? It's Lochan Das Thakur. He was a disciple of Sri Narahari Sarakara Thakur, who was a dearest associate of Lord Chaitanya. This is, and he was a poet and a writer, and he wrote the Chaitanya Mangala, which is the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. There are a few of the Shastras written back in Lord Chaitanya's time. Chaitanya Charitamrita, which Prabhupada has translated, Chaitanya Bhagavat, and Chaitanya Mangala. It tells the many pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, not revealed by Vrindavan Das Thakur. or Krishna Das Kaviraj. So there's other pastimes which aren't in the other books. And I couldn't get hold of a copy. I could have read something today. I couldn't get hold of a copy. He was a talented musician, and he told Mahaprabhu's pastimes in beautiful poetry. He says here, filled with fire and rhythm. Fire, that's interesting. Poetry, poetic, beautiful, melodic, fire and rhythm. That's a nice, very complimentary. Common people could easily understand the divine characteristics of Sri Chaitanya and awaken their spiritual feelings as a result of reading these literatures. As devotees regularly chant Vedic epics like Ramayana and Mahabharata, the Gaudiya Vaishnavas still wander through Bengal, reciting the Chaitanya Mangala. So just as a cornerstone of Indian culture, Hindu culture, is the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, they glorify the Lord Chaitanya. More so. After all, this is Lord Chaitanya's blessing. The whole Krishna consciousness movement is the mission of Sri Sri Gaura-Nityanander. And still, many people in India don't even know that Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Lord. No, he's not dwelt on. Oh, yes, he's a crazy saint. They have no access to Lord Chaitanya. But this Krishna consciousness movement is spreading his mission. And as it spreads, more and more people will know. But Lord Chaitanya said, in the coming age, my name will be chanted in every single town and village on the surface of the globe. Every town and village, Lord Chaitanya's name. For 10,000 years. Then after that, end. That's the end of it all. Kali Yuga, big time. So we've got this brief window to embrace the process of Krishna consciousness, ourselves, with our family and our community, and help Prabhupada by distributing his books and inviting people to come and hear. Otherwise, what is it? The news or the latest Netflix or blah blah blah. It's we've got this little window. We don't know how long we've got, how many years we have individually. We didn't know idea. Could we come tomorrow, next year, year after? Who knows what's around the corner? So take the Krishna consciousness, apply this process, and so I was going to. We don't have time, do we? Do we have? I was going to sing one of Lord Chandas's songs. We got time?
Yes.
Yeah? I don't know how we do this. How many of you got phones that you can look at? A few of you.
Did we post a link for it?
Yeah. That's
I sent it through.
It's on the web, on the WhatsApp.
So you got the link, you got the words.
Yes.
Okay. So this is a lovely song by Lord Chandas Thakur, glorifying Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. So we'll read the translation first, so we know what we're singing about. This is called Sri Sri Gaura-Nityanander Daya, the mercy of Gaura and Nityananda by Lord Chandas Thakur. The translation. Nitai and Gaurachandra are the two most munificent lords. They are the essence of all incarnations, the crest jewels of the avatars, the source of the unique joy of prema, Krishna prema. He's addressing his mind when he says that, oh brother, but he's addressing his own mind as well as addressing you and I. Oh brother, I implore you to worship Gaura-Nityanander with firm faith. Give up your attachment to sense gratification and merge into this ocean of chanting the names of Hari. Look, O brother, or you could say, look, O mind. There is no benefactor in the three worlds who is as merciful as they, as Gaura-Nityanander. Even birds and animals are fulfilled by hearing their qualities, and stones melt. We're not talking about rock bands, we're talking about stones actually melting in ecstasy. Inconceivable, but this is the poetry of Gaura-Nityanander. Absorbed in the cycle of birth and death, this is you and I, you have fallen by the wayside without any hope of achieving their company. The Lord of Death will come and make you suffer the results of your activities. So sings Lochan Das. He's remonstrating with his mind. So we can sing this. Parama Karuna Kahunduri Jandan Nitai Gaura-Chandra. Parama Karuna Kahunduri Jandan Nitai Gaura-Chandra. Parama Karuna Kahunduri Jandan Nitai Gaura-Chandra. Nitai Gaura-Chandra. Saba avatara Sara Shiromani Kevala Ananda Kunda. Saba avatara Sara Shiromani Saba avatara Sara Shiromani Kevala Ananda Kanda. Baja Baja Bahi Chaitanya Nitai Sudhita Vishvasa Kori. Baja Baja Chaitanya Nitai Sudhita Deshaya Chadiya Sirase Majiya Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari. Deshaya Chadiya Sirase Majiya Mukhe Bolo Hari. Dekho Ore Mahe Tribhuvan Nahe Emuna Doyala Data. Dekho Ore Mahe Tribhuvan Nahe Pashu Bhakti Jure Ashana Vidare Shune Yara Gunagata. Pashu Bhakti Jure Ashana Vidare Shune Yara Gunagata. Samsare Majiya Rohini Patiya Se Pate Nahilo Asha. Samsare Majiya Rohini Patiya Se Pate Nahilo Asha. Apana Koroma Jayi samana kohe ochana dasa. Kohe ochana dasa. Parama koruna kohindu hidana Nitai Gaura-Nityanander. Parama Karuna Gaura-Nityanander. Nitai Gaura-Nityanander. It's a bit high in key for some of us. Would you like to hear the purport? Do we have time? How are we doing for time?
You've got 5 more minutes.
5 minutes, okay. So there's 2 purports. There's one that Prabhupada spoke in Los Angeles in 1969. Very nice, very thorough purport. But I'll take us to a bit later, so I'll give an abbreviated one, which comes on. This is an abbreviation. This is a song by Lochan Das Thakur. Hahun means Lord, and Dvijana means 2. Lochan Das Thakur declares that the 2 lords, Nitai Gaur Chandra, Lord Nitai and Lord Chaitanya, are very, very merciful. Parama Karuna. Saba Avatara Sharashira Romani. Avatara means incarnation, and Saba means all. They are the essence of all incarnations. The specific significance of these incarnations, Shishi Gaura-Nitai, is that prosecuting their way of self-realization is simply joyful. Kevala Ananda Kanda. For they introduced chanting and dancing. There are many incarnations like Lord Ram, Lord Nrsimha, Lord Varaha, and even Krishna, who taught Bhagavad-gita, which requires knowledge and understanding. But Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda introduced a process that is simply joyful, which is simply to chant and dance. Therefore, Lochan Das requests everyone, Bhaja Bhaja Bhai, Chaitanya Nitai. My dear brother, I request that you just worship Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda with firm conviction and faith. Don't think that this chanting and dancing will not lead to the desired goal. It will. It is the assurance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that one will get all perfection by this process. Therefore, one must chant with firm faith and conviction. Vishvasa Kori. But what is the process? The process is Vishaya Chadiya Serase Majiya. If one wants to be Krishna conscious by this process, one has to give up his engagement in sense gratification. That is the only restriction. If one gives up sense gratification, it is sure that he will reach the desired goal. Mukhe bolo Hari Hari. One simply has to chant Hare Krishna, Hari Hari. Or Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hari Hari. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Without any motive of sense gratification. So if you're chanting Hare Krishna and you want to be a pop star, it'll be a long time before you get the result. But if you chant Hare Krishna as a service to Srila Prabhupada and Shishi Gaura-Nitai, regardless of whether you're getting any ecstasy or taste, do it as a service and the blessings will come. Deka Orebai Tribhuvane Nai, Lochan Das Thakur says, my dear brother. In some translations he's saying, my dear mind. So he's speaking not just to himself, but to you and I as well. My dear brother, you just try and examine this. Within the 3 worlds, there is no one like Lord Chaitanya or Lord Nityananda, because their merciful qualities are so great that they make even birds and beasts cry. What to speak of human beings? Actually, when Lord Chaitanya passed through the forest known as Jarikanda, The tigers, the elephants, snakes, deers, and all other animals joined him in chanting Hare Krishna. The animals. It is so nice that anyone can join, even animals can join. What to speak of human beings? Of course, it is not possible for ordinary men to induce animals to chant. But if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could inspire animals to chant, at least we can encourage human beings to adopt this path of Hare Krishna chanting. It is so nice that even the most stone-hearted man will be melted. Pashana means stone. It is so nice that even stones will melt. But Lochan Das Thakur regrets that he is entrapped by sense gratification. He addresses himself, "My dear mind, you are entrapped in this sense gratification process and you have no attraction for chanting Hare Krishna. Since you have no attraction for the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, what can I say? I can simply think of my misfortune. Yamaraj, the superintendent of death, is punishing me by not allowing me to be attracted by Lord Chaitanya's movement." In the purport, Prabhupada goes into a lot more detail. It's a very nice purport. You can look it up. If you go on, you've got this link. So if you can find Prabhupada's lecture, it's a lecture which is the purport to this, and it's quite long, very, very nice. Prabhupada talks about the animals dancing, animals chanting. There's one story I heard many years ago from, I believe it was somewhere in South America or Mexico. And the devotees were having Harinama on the street, chanting and dancing. And this dog came up trotting. You may know in Prabhupada's explanation on chanting Hare Krishna, Prabhupada says, even a child can take part in it, even a dog can take part of it. Even a dog can take part of it. But unfortunately, some of the renditions of that bit's been taken out. Some, it's disappeared. Someone thinks, well, either they've no faith, or they think, well, what are people going to think if dogs take part in it? Hey, I'm a dog, I don't know about you guys, but, you know, the dogs can take part in it. So, this pastime, devotee doing Harinama on the street, and this dog comes up, trots up, and he starts howling with the devotees. You know, Hare Krishna, ooh, of course, you know what dogs sound like. So he's howling with the devotees. And the devotees, look, he's chanting with us. This dog is a great devotee. What do the devotees do? They offer their obeisances to the dog.
Wow.
The obeisances to the dog. What did the dog do? What did the dog think? What did it do? It offered its obeisances back. The dog offers its obeisances to the devotees. Who was that dog? I always say you never know who you're speaking to on the street. You never know who that dog, you know, we don't know. There's many cases in recent years of animals reciprocating with temple worship. In India, there's a couple of big eagles, or every month they come around and do a whole circumambulation around the temple. There's a pair of big birds, and off they go every morning. There's cows that come and listen to Bhagavatam class. So many instances. So who knows who those souls are? No? One takes the Krishna consciousness, and because of attachment, you're thinking, you know, oh, did I put the dog out? And then what are you gonna, you know? But it's more than a devotee's family. So anyway, let's make this our last lifetime and take up this mood of Lochan Das. These moods are the acharyas who compose the songs. There's a mood to imbibe. We have to try to imbibe that mood of humility and appreciation, gratitude, and desperation. We need to be desperate for the mercy of God in time. So I've spoken on and on. I'm way over time. Any time for questions? Any time for questions? Yes, Prabhu.
The last purport, Yamaraj is like, there's a mention of Yamaraj
Yeah.
by not attracting, he is punishing. So does this mean that he's dying every minute by not getting attracted to the moment?
Well, we're all dying every minute. Every one of us, you know. We're dying every minute. We haven't got to the final conclusion yet, but we're on the way. Lord Chandas regrets he is entrapped by sense. My dear mind, you are entrapped in sense education. You have no attraction for chanting Hare Krishna. Yamaraj, the superintendent of death, is punishing me by not allowing me to be attracted to Lord Chaitanya's movement. This is the humility of Lord Chandas. The Jiva soul is free to choose. At this moment in time, Yamaraj has no jurisdiction over us. As far as I know, I don't make any offenses to Yamaraj. He's a great devotee. In the translation, which is this is a like a summary of the purport. In the translation, much briefer one, it says, the Lord of Death, talking to his mind, and you and I, Lo Chan says, absorbed in the cycle of birth and death. Absorbed in the cycle of birth and death. Over and over and over. This is one of billions. You know, we're stuck in the cycle of birth and death. You have fallen by the wayside without any hope for achieving the company of Gaura-Nityanander. The Lord of Death will come and make you suffer the results of your activities. So sings Lo Chan Death. So he's warning his mind, he's chastising to himself, hey, you know, Yamaraj is going to come, and you're going to be stuck here. But I'll tell you another little story. You know, as the years go by, you hear these little things that happen. This comes from Russia, this pastime. Maybe you've heard it, you know. It's hopeful, it's a hopeful story, and I won't go on too long, because we're time. So, this, on the street was this fellow lived on the street, a real rough guy, not a nice character at all. He lived on the street, and the Lord's, the Rathayatra went by. Hey, young man, what's his name? Ridhan, you have to be quiet. No, just listen to this amazing story, okay? Ridhan? No, don't stop him breathing, but you know, give him some milk. Yeah. This is a story worth listening to. So there's this down and out character on the street, nasty character, and the Rathayatra goes by, and he's swearing at the Rathayatra in Russian. I don't know. I'm not going to say any swear words. I don't know Russian swear. And you know, like people do. Sometimes people are so envious. They don't, you know, they're almost like they're possessed. They hate anything because it reminds me of their own fallen state. That's what is. You know, you're confronted. My God, you're so far away from that. You express your anger towards that reminder. So shortly after this, we're not told how long. He was knocked over by a car, and he was taken to hospital, and he was in a coma. And I don't know if you're aware, comas. Often people are in a coma, and they're totally aware of what's going on around them. It's not like they're shut off. That they're just not. They're not. Don't appear to be aware of the world, but often they know everything that's going on. The conversation, sometimes even out of the body experiences, and they know what's going on down the corridor. Remarkable coma. And sometimes people in comas, they go to higher regions and lower regions. They're out of the body, and they're very conscious in other realms. So this chap, he was in a coma in hospital, and they dragged him. The Yamadutas came and dragged him out of his body, and it was a long walk to the court of Yamaraj. It can take over a year. You experience it as a year. Blazing fires, barking dogs, stinging flies, horrible. You think this is weather's bad? Oh, you got no idea. And you're not even in the court of Yamaraj yet. And finally, there's a massive queue. You've got to join this queue. And finally, you're there in front of Yamaraj. After a year or more of just intense terror and suffering. So anyway, and we understand. There's not just Yamaraj is there, but there's Chandragupta with his big book. He's the bookkeeper. He has a big book. Look at you. Oh. So Yamaraj, he's this character's before him now. He says, judging from your life, there's nothing here to commend you. So this is your, you're going to be here. So in this particular instance, there was a very youthful, beautiful, saintly person standing next to Yamaraj. And he had a strange musical instrument over his shoulder. Who do you know that might have been? Who? Narada Muni, yes. Of course, he didn't know him by any. He doesn't know who he is. He doesn't know who Yamaraj is. He just knows he's absolutely terrified. As far as he's concerned, he's being judged by God. And Yamaraj, he's the god of death. That's his duty. And this so Narada says, no, wait, there's something. Oh, speak. He said he waved at the Hare Krishna Kirtan party. Now this is very interesting. Lord Chaitanya doesn't see the offences. Lord Chaitanya, he does not see the offences. Not that we should make offences, but Narada Muni is in the mood of Lord Chaitanya. He's saying he waved at the Hare Krishna Kirtan. He didn't say he was swearing and cursing. He just sees the wave. This is Lord Chaitanya's mercy. So Yamaraj says, oh, in that case then I'll give you two choices. You can stay here and suffer your due, or you can go back down there and make amends. Make up for your nasty, useless life. He said, I'll go back. He took back in his body in the hospital. And now, he's one of the biggest book distributors in Moscow Temple. So there's always hope. And the potency of any involvement with Lord Chaitanya and Prabhupada's mission is inconceivable. Inconceivable. And by giving opportunity to others, our blessings are inconceivable because we're giving others this inconceivable blessing, opportunity, you know. Indriyesha Prabhu, he's gone out year after year after year after year giving this opportunity to all the kids, you know. And his good wife, Krishna Besa, traveling all around the country in baking heat and freezing cold. So much austerity, a lot of big austerity to bring Lord Chaitanya to the children. And it'll never leave them. Where I live in Watford, when I first moved down there, I had some interaction with this character, this bunch of kids. And they saw my neck beads. They said, are you a Hare Krishna? I said, yeah. He said, oh, this was a kid, he was kind of in his late teens, he was past school age. But he said, are you from that Krishna temple? I said, yeah. Of course, I was living outside. I said, I go. He said, that was the best day out we ever had. He was glorifying the devotees, glorifying them, you know. It was such an impression. Massive impression. So, anyway, but I've gone on again. Probably no time for anything here. Any question or anything? What do we do? Kirtan now, is it? Prasadam?
No prasad time.
No, prasad time.
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Okay, 5 minutes.
Kirtan.
Standing kid.
Standing kirtan, okay. If any got any questions, come to me over prasadam and you can ask me more questions. Hare Krishna.
Haribol!